Hello and welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll find the most recent news, entertaining moments, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Ashley Hollis had always been the party's center of attention. Her presence was enticing, her smile disarming, and her mind sharp from the moment she entered the Big Brother house. Her fans adored her. House guests underestimated her at their peril. Ashley quickly became a household name because she could read people like a book and used calculated strategies. However, a more complicated story was quietly unfolding behind the sparkling facade, a story of ambition, personal struggles, and heartbreak that would never be shown to a television audience. Her journey began without incident. Ashley was a determined woman with a fierce intellect, a passion for connection, and a small-town girl with big dreams. She was regarded as someone who had the ability to brighten a room and whose laughter was contagious by family and friends. She was overjoyed when she got the call that she was going to be on Big Brother. She saw it as an opportunity to demonstrate her determination, wit, and strengths on a national stage. She had no idea that the game would put her spirit and mind to the test. Observation and subtle maneuvering were the only skills required in the beginning of the house. Ashley was an expert at what later became known as the smiling assassin strategy. With a warm smile and conversations that showed empathy, she effortlessly formed alliances and gained trust. However, she was also aware of when to coerce, when to betray subtly, and when to act impulsively. She had orchestrated multiple blindsides by the middle of the season that stunned even the most experienced players. The public adored her for her combination of charm and cunning, which made her a frontrunner. However, as the game became more intense, so did the pressure. Ashley began to feel a lot of the burden of being apart from her family, under constant surveillance, and the deliberate betrayals that are a common feature of Big Brother. Later, she would tell her diary that she struggled to sleep on some nights, haunted by guilt and paranoia. She seemed to be plotting with every smile and word she spoke in the house. She was quietly battling the psychological toll of living under a microscope behind the glamour of televised competitions. Ashley persevered despite the stress. She formed alliances that appeared to be unbreakable and won competitions that no one expected her to win. She was admired by viewers and feared by competitors as she reached the final three before the show's conclusion. When she was crowned the winner, the applause was thunderous. Her triumphant tears, joyful laughter, and sincere speeches about the journey she had endured were all captured by cameras. Ashley had accomplished everything she had ever desired, according to the outside world. She was famous. However, as is typical, reality proved to be more complicated. Returning to the outside world, Ashley faced a whirlwind of attention and scrutiny. Social media was a double-edged sword. Admirers lauded her talent, but critics scrutinized every word and action. The constant attention became too much for someone who already knew how others saw her. In the Big Brother house, what had been a controlled environment transformed into a chaotic and unrelenting pressure cooker. Friends observed modifications. Ashley, who used to be very outgoing, started avoiding social gatherings and spending long stretches of time in her apartment reading comments. She confessed that she felt exposed and that her identity and the public's perception of her were becoming more and more muddled. The fatigue in her eyes, the hesitation in her laughter, and the frequent appearance of being lost in thought all pointed to the subtle shift which even her closest allies noticed. She also experienced turmoil in her personal life. The intensity of her fame put relationships that seemed promising to the test. Ashley frequently found herself torn between loyalty and self-preservation as the miscommunications grew. The stress began to build up, manifesting as anxiety and insomnia, despite her outward calm. She was a woman at the height of her career, but she was also deeply insecure in private. Family members attempted to intervene. They advised her to take breaks, seek therapy, and withdraw from the public eye. However, Ashley, always independent, maintained that she could handle it on her own. She was concerned that being vulnerable might be interpreted as being weak, and so she pressed on, balancing appearances of success with an internal struggle that few could fathom. Ashley maintained an effortless presence by attending events, participating in interviews, and engaging with fans and the media over the course of years. However, she was quietly unraveling on the inside. She was under an invisible weight that she was unable to easily lift due to the unrelenting pressure of expectation, which was made worse by her own losses and grievances. She was quietly drowning in battles with mental illness, which were often hidden from the general public. The tragic evening that followed would shock both her fans and the media. Ashley had planned a quiet evening at home in order to find solace in reflection and solitude. She insisted she was fine, despite friends attempting to inquire about her well-being. The storm inside was obscured by the fact that that day's social media posts seemed ordinary, if not mundane. People who were close to her said that her final hours were filled with private struggle and reflection. She reached for her diary, sharing her unfiltered thoughts. She wrote about her worries, her frustrations, and a deep sense of exhaustion in the entries. But there was also a tinge of optimism, a desire to find peace and reconcile her private and public selves. Later, it was discovered that Ashley had sought professional assistance, but her difficulties were complex and persistent. Even though she tried to reach out, the support she got didn't completely bridge the gap between the world she lived in on screen and the one she had to deal with behind closed doors. She died in the early hours of that fateful night. Her sudden departure shocked everyone who knew her story, and the circumstances were tragic. The information spread quickly. Her victories had been celebrated by her fans, who were now confronted with life's fragility. Her brilliance, warmth, and struggles were chronicled in interviews and tributes. Friends, former rivals, and contestants all praised her kindness, intelligence, and unwavering spirit. A person whose light had shone so brightly, even in the darkest hours, was lost to the world. Conversations about mental health, fame, and the demands of reality TV took on a new urgency in the aftermath. The Ashley story sparked discussion and served as a reminder that private struggles can be hidden behind the glamour and excitement of public life. Mental health professionals emphasized the importance of outreach, compassion, and support, and the fact that even people who appear to be strong can encounter battles that are unseen. Ashley left behind a lasting legacy, despite the tragedy. Her time on Big Brother remained iconic, and both analysts and fans studied her strategic genius. In addition, she became a symbol, a reminder that fame and success are not shields from personal pain, and that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a human truth. Despite her tragic end, her life sparked conversation, awareness, and empathy in ways she might not have anticipated. Sufficing Ashley Hollis from reality TV stardom to her heartbreaking final moments can be seen as a stark and sobering truth. The world often sees the mask, smile, and brilliance, but the inner struggles can be hidden. Her story makes us want to dig deeper, check in with loved ones, and understand that strength doesn't always show up on the surface. The public continues to honor Ashley's memory, celebrate her accomplishments, and mourn her loss. She left behind the laughs she shared, the plans she devised, and the connections she made. And in addition, despite the fact that her final moments serve as a tragic reminder of the human frailty that lies behind fame, they also convey a lasting message. Compassion, understanding, and empathy are more important than ever before, for all ages and stages of life. Even though Ashley Hollis left this world too soon, her story continues to serve as a cautionary tale and a tribute, shedding light on the dark underbelly of fame. We are reminded by her journey that even the brightest stars can struggle in the dark, and that every victory, every moment of laughter, and every smile may conceal battles that are deeply human. She leaves behind not only a legacy of rivalry and fame, but also a legacy of humanity, complex, vibrant, and tragically beautiful. Even though her final moments were heartbreaking, they serve as a stark and necessary reminder to see the person, not just the persona.
Audiences had always been captivated by Ashley Hollis. Her charm, intelligence, and strategic mind made her unforgettable from the moment she entered the Big Brother house. She was quickly dubbed the Smiling Assassin by viewers because of her ability to gain trust, forge alliances, and plan moves without anyone knowing. Her meteoric rise on the show culminated in a triumphant victory that established her place in the history of reality television. But the public only saw the highlight reel. Ashley had to deal with unimaginable pressures behind the scenes. Weeks of isolation, constant observation, and emotional manipulation had made the house life a mental marathon. Despite the fact that she had triumphed over betrayals and heartbreak, the effects of the experience persisted. Returning to the outside world, Ashley was hailed as a star. Her days were filled with media appearances, fan events, and interactions on social media. She initially accepted it, relishing the attention and acknowledgement she had fought for. She quickly learned, however, that fame had its benefits and drawbacks. Her every move was scrutinized by the same audiences that lauded her victories, turning even minor errors into headlines and fueling incessant online commentary. Family and friends noticed small changes. Ashley, who was once the center of every gathering, started to withdraw. She didn't go to any events, didn't make long phone calls, and spent hours by herself looking at comments. Even her closest friends could see that she was getting more and more worn out, and it wasn't just physical exhaustion that they could see. In private, she struggled with anxiety, self-doubt, and an overwhelming sense of pressure to present a flawless image while smiling for the cameras. Ashley told a few trusted friends that she felt like she was being held back by her success. She had become a household name thanks to her victories in the Big Brother house, but that status came with a lot of expectations. She was afraid that exposing her vulnerability would backfire on her fans and hurt her reputation. So she kept her struggles private, navigating the mounting stress in silence. Ashley kept interacting with the general public despite her internal conflicts. Social media posts, appearances, and interviews presented a self-assured and charming image that obscured the growing strain beneath. She even began planning future projects, eager to channel her fame into opportunities outside the reality TV world. However, behind closed doors, insomnia and persistent anxiety became constant companions. Tragic events arose out of nowhere. Ashley planned a quiet night at home one evening in search of solitude. She reassured friends when they reached out to inquire about her condition. The turmoil she felt inside was not reflected in her social media posts, which appeared routine. Ashley's private reflections revealed the extent of her struggle during her final hours. She wrote openly about the pressure of fame, her exhaustion, and her longing for peace in posthumously shared diaries and messages. She expressed appreciation for the love in her life, but she also felt a deep, unstoppable weariness. She had sought assistance, but the mental strain and public scrutiny had become too much for her to handle. Fans, friends, and members of the reality television community were shaken to their core by the news of her passing. She was praised for her kindness, strategic genius, and brilliance. She was remembered by former house guests, co-workers, and fans for her warmth, wit, and the lasting impression she left on Big Brother. Not only the star, but also the person who brought the fame to the world were mourned. Conversations about mental health and the hidden pressures of public life were sparked in the days that followed Ashley's story. Experts reminded the world that even those who appear to be strong and successful can struggle greatly, stressing the significance of open communication and support networks. Her story helped raise awareness, compassion, and understanding. There are numerous ways that Ashley's legacy lives on. Her memorable Big Brother moments are still analyzed and admired, and her strategic prowess is still praised. However, her journey is a sobering reminder of the human cost of fame that extends beyond the game. There may be struggles hidden from the public behind every triumph or public appearance. The story of Ashley demonstrates that strength is not always obvious and that empathy and compassion are necessary in every interaction. Even though her final moments were tragic, they showed how important it is to see her as a person rather than just a persona. The life of Ashley Hollis was one of genius, bravery, and vulnerability. She became famous, made history with television, and inspired millions. But her story also showed how fragile even the brightest stars can be. Fans continue to honor her memory, mourn her loss, and celebrate her victories as they remember Ashley. Her story serves as a reminder that success does not prevent hardship, and that human connection, understanding, and empathy are more important than ever. The lessons that Ashley's journey from Big Brother to tragedy teaches are both heartbreaking and illuminating, and they go far beyond the screen. To care, listen, and recognize the struggles that many people face in the shadows. People who were familiar with Ashley's life, rise to fame, and tragic final moments will always be etched in their minds. Her passing is a significant loss, but her impact continues to offer hope, awareness, and a call to compassion in a world that is far too often distracted by appearances.